This is Chris Jones, the Bow Nose VO. So you got the bow tie on. Today, today on the podcast or vidcast, whichever you prefer, we're going to do some storytelling. And I have with me to tell his story a gentleman who works for and is proud to work for a company called Stored Tech. His name is Steve Blanchard. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Chris. How are you? I
Everything's
should have
good.
wore my bow tie.
I didn't tell you to, so. You have a bow tie?
No, I don't. But I would have bought one specifically for this podcast.
Oh, I see. Would you know how to tie one? If you hadn't?
I probably would have looked it up on YouTube and struggled through the
I did a.
instructions.
That's what I did when I first did this. It was about 2 years ago. Anyway, it's not about bow ties. um, Tell us what you do for Stored Tech. Your story is interesting. Well, I want to start with what you do now and kind of go back to the origin of it.
Yeah, so currently I am a sales executive for Stored Tech in the Capital District. So my job is to basically develop the Capital District for Stored Tech and acquire clients in the small and medium business realm
Hmm.
to outsource their IT work to us, or if they're already outsourcing IT work with another company, show the value proposition of who we are, what we do, and how we can help them. We deal with anybody from companies that deal with just a single individual on IT retainer, all the way to larger businesses that already have an IT department that just don't have the bandwidth to handle all the IT aspects of that business, so they need to
Right.
outsource some of that work. So that's what I currently do, and that's my focus is to continue to grow Stored Tech in the Capital District.
How big is that company? How many employees?
Yeah, so we're about 50 to 60 employees right now. About 10 years old, about 10 to 12 million dollar company, I would say.
Mhm.
One of the fastest growing tech companies in upstate New York and in New York and just in the country. We're on the Inc. 5000 Albany Business Journal. Mark Shaw, the president, has really done a phenomenal job with the company, really marrying two aspects of tech that you don't see in the industry too often, and that's customer service and proactive approach, and
Yeah.
that really separates us and makes us unique from our competition, and allows us to have a very high retention rate, close to 80 to 90% retention rate for all of our clients, and we don't do contracts.
Wow.
So that is not a fuddy-duddy number when it comes to well, we have a high retention rate because they're stuck in contract for 3 years. This we have
Heard
a
that. Yeah,
we
very
have
good.
a 30-day basically out clause where if someone wants to get out, they just give us a notification so we can migrate their data to whoever they want to go to. And to have an 87, 90% retention rate there is
Mhm.
just shows that what Stored Tech has done over the last 10 years and their growth is due to the fact they're doing the right things for the end users, and
Mhm. That's
it's a
good.
great thing to be a part of.
That's good. We were talking just the other day recently, and you were telling me how you kind of got started and what your motivations were to get into this sort of business and how you morphed from one business to another. I understand, and we share similar background in the fact that we had both done work in the automobile industry. I was a salesperson, and I did that for 6 years, and that was fun until I decided it wasn't fun, basically. And you go off and do your own thing. Can you tell us how you started? Because the idea, what I like to do with people I talk to is have them tell stories. It humanizes exactly what you are and who you do or what you do.
Yeah. I guess I'll start from the beginning where I found the passion and really, I would say business consultation. I hate the word sales. I
Yeah.
sometimes say that I'm an account executive, even though my probably official title is sales executive.
Yeah, I get it.
I think sales, the word sales just has a negative connotation to it. And I saw that early on. I saw the consultative approach to the sales approach when I had my first taste in, consultation, and that was at Sears.
Sears.
Yeah, at the age of 17. So I worked full time while I was going to school full time through college, Hudson Valley, and
Mm-hmm.
just had to do it based on what was going on in my personal life, and it's just me and my father. So I had to
Sure.
make ends meet and help him with the bills, and that's what you got to do. You got to step up to the plate when those things happen, right? So yeah, I saw two different forms of the way individuals either consult or sell, right? I saw a guy by the name of Bob DeStassi on the sales floor with home improvement equipment, right? Lawn and garden, tractors, tillers, mowers, weed whackers, and you'd have a lot of new homeowners coming in trying to discover and figure out what they need, and they just didn't have that much knowledge behind it, and they wanted to get the proper equipment to maintain their brand new house. They're excited to do that, right? And there's a consultative approach to that, right? Because you're educating the client on what is needed.
Right.
And I saw that and I really fell in love with that prospect of that process, and it, I just saw the smiles on the client's face. I saw the return and repeat business that occurred from someone that wasn't there too long, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and he was the go-to lawn and garden guy. Still remember his name to this day because he really resonated off of me.
Right.
And I saw the same person on the same sales floor. A guy named George, and he was your slick Rick sales guy, right? Whatever, trying to fit a 78-year-old man in a 54-inch tractor that, probably wouldn't be able to handle it, right? And it's like, George, what are you doing? But it was because it was about him, not about the client. And
Mhm.
so I don't want to be that.
No.
So I'm glad I saw it in the same, you know, sales floor early on in retail sales because it really allowed me to identify who I wanted to be in that space, who I didn't want to be in that space, and I saw that by mimicking, not mimicking, but being influenced by the way Bob did things. I realized, man, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm very strong in the consultative side of things, and I felt like it came natural to me, and there was a path as far as a career path to that. So I kind of knew really early, Chris, what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
which was great because I don't think a lot of people, really. I still think to this day there's people still trying to figure that out, right?
Oh yeah.
And I knew at about 17, 18 that business consultation.
I see on LinkedIn. There's all kinds of posts about that.
Yeah,
About make the customer first. You got to think like the client would think. Think like your customer would think, and not about you. So the fact that you saw that early on is really good. I like that.
yeah. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years until I graduated Siena. I wanted a path out of retail just because the hours are crazy, and
Yeah.
I just didn't see between the hours and the amount of money you could make. It was basically you work more hours, you make more money, and it kind of went that way. So
Yeah.
quality of life would go down, in the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
um, I really wanted to get into business to business sales. I felt like there was a level of quality of life to the amount of money that you can make to a strategic approach to consultation and business to business that business to consumer did not have. Business to consumer can be very emotional, and sometimes emotions get in the way of what's the best option, and that can happen sometimes in
Yeah.
business to business. Don't get me wrong, but more than likely, it's more of a business decision than an emotional decision, and less likely an emotional decision in the business side. So, wanted to get into that field. I got my break as a 1099 contractor because I was young, right? I'm coming out of college. I don't have, I don't have any type of outside sales uh, experience. So I was trying to get my foot in the door, right? So I took a chance on myself and got into 1099 contracting with a company called the College Network, which
Hmm.
did nursing education for LPNs looking to get their registered nursing license while working full time. So there was a niche there because normally there's one main program to do that. That's Excelsior College, and you have to buy textbooks and then test out of classes for you to get college credit. So what our company did was replace those textbooks with an online classroom in order to get that done, and did really well there. I got it. It was still business to consumer, but I was starting to get a taste of business to business because of the fact that I would work with hospitals, nursing facilities, specific areas where LPNs work on a day-to-day basis to create a conduit of referrals for individuals that were looking to get the registered nursing license. So I had to build relationships with those to get, the consumer or the B2C end user to talk to me. So I got a little bit of taste of that, got a little bit of the outside sales experience there. I had to move on because honestly, I just lost belief in what I was doing.
Hmm.
When you get nurses, over a year you're making a good buck, but you get nurses calling you crying and just basically saying, hey, I've had a life-altering situation occur. I need to get out of this loan, or I need to temporarily put it on hold, and the company you work for doesn't budge. And you got a nurse in tears.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
really makes you have a hard time sleeping at night or waking up the
Yes.
next morning and go on to an appointment and trying to pitch the same thing because you almost don't want to entrap someone in a negative situation.
Makes you
So
hate your job, actually.
yeah, yeah. So I had to get out. When you lose belief, especially when you're consulting others, it's time to go. And regardless of the money I was making, and being a 21-year-old kid making six figures early on, I mean, could have probably been way smarter with my money. Spending at the bar and doing all the what 21-year-old kids do. But it was a good learning experience for me for
Yeah,
sure to fall on that money early on and budget a little bit better and whatnot.
sure.
So transferred over to the automotive industry, which is where we correlate a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And worked for a large corporation called Car Global and preferred warranties, which was basically an outsourcing of ancillary products that finance managers use for the back end of the car dealerships, primarily in the independent space. Normally
Hmm.
franchises already have those set up through self-insurance DOTC programs, or they might have their own warranty, or they might be in a reinsurance program through the franchise provider that they have, or the banks will steer them in that direction. Independents don't really have that type of outlet, so they have to really find a third party option that works best for them. So I was sold, say 22, 23 now, and a recruiter reaches out and says, hey, we have this great opportunity. It's in the business to business field, which is what I wanted to get into. It's a brand new market. You can build it yourself. You're going to be a part of a Fortune 1000 company at the time.
Mm.
A lot of growth opportunity, and I'm getting jazzed up, right? I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
is great, like I can build my own thing. This is going to be like building my own business. I can move up the corporate chain, which at that time frame, that's what I wanted to do, right? You know, consultation wasn't my first step. I wanted additional layers and next steps to where I wanted to go, and I sat there and I said, yeah, let's do it. I'm in. I'm all in. Jump head first. I had a lot of energy to do that, and um, it was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life, Chris. So it was really, really tough because I had to build a brand new market with no brand recognition. Nobody knew who we were. It was my first B2B job. My manager was 3 months my senior. It was really, really tough. And the current job I was in was going through transition from a privatized company to a publicly traded company because they got
Mm.
bought out the same month I got hired.
Wow.
Moving parts, right? So I would say it was a recipe for disaster to try to succeed,
Kind of sounds that way. Yeah.
yeah, not an easy um, not an easy environment to succeed, but I really leaned on my network at the time, my mentors, to sit there and say, what do I do here? I got a job that I wanted to in the B2B space. I do see an opportunity and potential. If I can make this work, I know it can catapult me to the next level. And everybody told me you got to give it 3 years.
Mhm.
It could be painful. It's going to be rough. But 3 years will really give you an idea of building trust in the space because the automotive industry is really about trust
Yes.
and organic growth on how people know people, right? It's
Yeah.
very, you know,
Oh yeah.
grassroots. And
Reputation.
reputation, you really want to be that, oh, you need a new warranty company, Steve is your guy, right? You kind of wanted that. And you want that in any industry, right? But especially in the automotive industry, it's that's how you can very easily get in the door and build trust very quick. Um, so I did. I gave it 3 years. I even worked a second job in 2015 to make ends meet because it just wasn't making enough money. I'm going from six figures down to about 50% less of that, and it's a big cut. Good thing is being young enough, I didn't have too many things underneath me. I didn't have a lot of bills or anything like that, so I could take that step back and gave it time, and by 2016, built it to an over $1 million market.
Whoa.
Was one of the top territories in the entire country for the company.
Hmm.
Was President's Club award winner, which is first place in the company for that for 2016, top rep in the company, and had aspirations to. At that point, the job itself was coming a little bit easy to me. 4.5 years in, I kind of had the idea of what to do, how to go about it, and I
Right.
just wanted a new challenge. So, I applied to a regional management position, and the company really wanted me there too, to educate the existing salespeople on the right process of consultation over sales, which
Hmm.
I was a big advocate for.
Right.
Very outspoken about it, as I've been, so far here, and that's what I did. I landed a job as a regional manager for Pennsylvania all the way down to Virginia, so I covered the Mid Atlantic. Had seven
Right.
reps underneath me, and really started cultivating the talent there. So it was really eye-opening experience because being in sales and being in management are two totally different things.
Oh
You can be a
yes.
great
Very much
salesperson,
aware.
yeah, but you can be a pretty crappy manager. And that's exactly what I was, Chris. I was a horrible manager when I first started.
We have to have people skills. I
Yeah,
mean, to be a manager, and I've seen managers in any job that I've had where, I mean, maybe they know everything about everything, but
yeah,
they don't know how to handle people, conflicts, whatever. I know what you mean. So.
yeah. It was for me. It was the naivety of thinking the work ethic, time, and effort, as well as process that I was doing as a sales rep is pretty much what everybody was doing,
Hmm.
and there was a stark difference of what I was doing and my expectations for myself compared to what other expectations are for other people. So I really got a crash course into that when I was a manager because there's a why behind the what when
Hmm.
it comes to performance, right? And it could be two things. It could be a lack of effort, or it could be a lack of fit, or it could be a lack of need of where they need to be. Right? They could be comfortable. Right?
Yeah.
So, for me, I was always pushing the limit and trying to get to the next level. I was never satisfied. Right? Not
Yeah.
everybody has that fire, and if there
Yeah.
was, it'd probably be, there would be, it'd be hard to find a sales job, right? If everybody had that. So it's pretty easy to find one. So, yeah, it took me about 3 years. I was there for about 2 years and 7 months in that role, so I was there for a total of 7 years.
Right.
And yeah, it was really eye-opening for me to go through that, and it was a good learning experience because I was taking a region that was going in this direction and had to figure out, all right, is it a people process? I knew it wasn't a product issue, right? Because I sold the product for 4.5 years.
Hmm.
So is it a people or a process issue? And first I had to dig into the process, understand what their process was. And, once I figured out if those individuals could do the process or not, then it came down to a people thing. And I had to actually turn over 80% of my team.
Yeah.
Some of it was voluntary, some of it was involuntary because some of the voluntary ones I think it was due to the fact that they were figuring out, okay, this is actually how to do the job, and I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
For others, it was just it wasn't a fit to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So I got the people that I thought were good consultants on board, and that's where the ascent started happening, right? Because had the people figured out, just taught them the process, and then they were on their way, and we were doing really good. 2019 was a really, really good year. I got married to my longtime girlfriend, bought a house, making the second highest paycheck I ever had in my career. But there was a lot of turnover during that year
Hmm.
with the job. The president and the vice president turned over.
Ooh.
And yeah, president the year before that, and then that new president brought in a vice president, and things changed, right?
Yeah.
There was a stark difference in terms of the definition of what success looked like. Who knows where that came from, right? At the end of the day,
Hmm.
you never want to point fingers or anything like that. There was just a difference, right? There was a stark change in direction, and November there was a mutual separation between both parties,
Right.
and you can be frustrated during that process, right? You
Sure.
pour a lot of time and effort, 2-3 weeks before that mutual separation occurs. You put 3 weeks in a row and or you put 14 days in a row of work in 3 different states. Yeah, you're gonna get frustrated because you're
Yeah.
pouring a lot of time and everything, right? But once the dust settles on those feelings, you really, I'm a big believer in self-reflection and
Oh yeah.
self improvement. It's something that I do daily, almost hourly, sometimes, almost
Oh
like
yeah.
after
I
every
think
consultation call.
I think a lot of people do. I think it's just human nature very
Yeah,
often.
and it's a good way to improve yourself all
Mhm.
the time. Yeah, nobody's perfect. Even if you're just crushing it, right? And you're
Hmm.
doing amazing things. You can always get better, right?
Yeah.
Something you can always get better in, and that's why even self-reflection is more important when you're doing well because it's harder to see that because you think everything's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I self-reflected on the opportunity. I said, what's more important to me now, more than ever, is culture. You know, Culture of company is something that I really want to look at. Because the quality of life can be impacted if the culture is not there, and
Oh sure.
um,
Go
and
home
that's what I
hating your
started looking at.
job. You go home like you had a rough day, and you try not to take it out on family members or your spouse, and
Yeah,
it's difficult, and you manage, but you're internally hurting. I know all about that.
yeah, yeah. It's not easy. I mean, when you're never home, right? I mean, I was on a plane pretty much every week, and I'm pouring a lot of time and effort into what I'm doing, and it's just when the culture's not there for a company, there's a level of doesn't feel like you're being appreciated for the time and effort you're being put in. That you're putting into it, and it's a frustrating experience because it impacts you all around, right? It impacts
Mhm.
your social life, impacts your personal life, impacts your professional life too. So so it's good to identify that, understand it, and know what next path I wanted to go. And
Mhm.
I found store tech. I,
Yeah.
it's funny because my when I was in the job, when I was looking for a job, really cast a wide net out. Like I would just apply to whatever I thought, I can make good money. This is what I could do. I wasn't looking to get into the tech space. I wasn't looking to get into manufacturing or the car business again. I was looking at
Mhm.
something that I could consult business with, I could
Right.
learn the business, and then I could help someone else. The biggest thing was helping the other person with a good product and or service.
Hmm.
So Store Tech reaches out. We have a really good conversation. I immediately feel the cultural difference between what StoreTech had to offer compared to other interviews I was going on, and it was I definitely had much better opportunities, from a money perspective to go to based on my automotive industry experience, and
Sure.
but again, quality of life was more important, the culture was more important,
Hmm.
and I took a shot in the tech business. I, switched industries again for I would say the third or fourth time in my career already, in my young career, um, and I did it because I said, you know what, if I could make preferred warranties work in the most, you know, not the greatest environment for it to work, I can. I had the confidence I could make anything work.
Hmm.
So took a 50% pay cut, took a title reduction, and so far so good. I mean,
If you're a
the
happier
six.
guy.
I'm a happier guy, right? The money will come in time when you're building a newer market, like what we're doing at StoreTech in the Capital District.
Hmm.
It does take time, right? Which everybody knows, and especially I was hired in February, and then the pandemic hit in March. So
Yeah.
that perseverance of what I've dealt with in my previous life has definitely helped me through this one.
Sure.
But it's been they've StoreTech has been phenomenal. I think this whole pandemic puts a spotlight on company culture,
Yes, it does.
and I look at my previous life, and there's been a lot of layoffs and people removed, good people from jobs, and I look at StoreTech and they've hired 7 additional people. They've continued to have a StoreTech family focus, and that's great to hear, because if I can talk about that from StoreTech, at the end of the day, the individuals that will use StoreTech will have a peace of mind that they're doing the right thing. If they're doing the right thing for their people internally, they're going to do the right thing for the people externally. And it's been a breath of fresh air for sure.
The transition. I'll focus on that for 1 second. Now you left the previous position with the warranty company in November, you said, I think,
November, yep.
November, and you picked this one up in February. So there was a 4 month gap in there,
Yes, yep.
and that's the time you do a lot of reflecting and talking and interviews, of course. And it
Yep.
took that long to find. Well, things happen. Things happen for a reason. I'm sure you probably agree with that.
Yep.
And what happened in your previous company, the warranty company, uh, just was part of the overall plan, if there is such a thing, and to move forward. And now you're doing this, and your life is a lot better. Same thing happened with me when I started this voiceover thing. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a transition for sure, and there was during that time frame. So why it took so long from November to February to find a job was I actually got another job offer from a different company
Yeah.
in November. Basically gave me an offer I couldn't refuse in between that time frame, and December 3rd hit, which is when I was supposed to start with this new company, and we get one of the biggest and only snowstorms we got in 2019 in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And I had to travel down to Washington, D.C. So they said, "Hey, you can do one of two things. You can drive down here." I was like, "In a snowstorm? No." I said, "That's not going to happen." Or we can reschedule your start date to January 6th. So, I mean, we're in between holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I said, "Let me just new year, new fresh start. Let's just do January 6th."
Yeah.
Well, 2 days before I was supposed to start this other job, they rescinded my job offer.
Oh.
So yeah, November to January was interesting because, I thought I had a job towards the
Mhm.
tail end of November. So why would I continue to search for a job when I have one lined up? And
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then I get it rescinded. So I had to start that process all over again in the beginning of January. So it was a
Well,
roller coaster ride for me transitioning out of what occurred. And
again,
um,
you don't see it at the time, but things do happen for a reason,
oh, yeah.
and they
Oh,
really
yeah.
do.
Blessing in disguise. I look at that company and it was a blessing for sure. So.
Now, you and I met just recently, within the past month or so, via some networking, which was set up, and I think it was Christine Smith's one of her events, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of networking. I was waiting for the lightsaber to come out.
Yep.
But anyway, networking is such a wonderful thing, and you've done a lot of that to increase your clientele and your base for your stored tech, existence. Correct?
Yeah, networking has been a huge part of it, especially during the pandemic. And to be frank, I think cold calling is a dying process.
Yeah,
I don't. It's still needed, right? But working the phones, there's just such a diluted amount of just garbage phone calls that small and medium businesses get on a day-to-day basis. It's hard to tell your story through the phone, and
yeah,
the pandemic really forced us to only use the phone because a lot of places were closed, right?
yeah.
So I really leaned on networking in order to tell the stored tech story and try to uncover new opportunities. And boy, Christine has been amazing
Yeah.
to help with that. I mean, coming out of the car space, really don't have a network aside from a bunch of car guys.
Bunch of
You are
car
one of the car
guys.
guys, right? And I
I'm still
didn't.
friends with the guys, but
I love my car guys. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still talk to them to this day. They invite me to fantasy football drafts, and yeah, I love all those guys to death, and I'd do anything for them. But
yeah,
you need to diversify your network when you get into a space like the tech space or any space for that matter that involves multiple industries and verticals.
sure.
Um, so I was really starting from scratch. I was starting from nothing, and I learned a lot from Christine. She has just so much energy. She knows so much about networking. She
Yeah.
had such a helping mentality. Um, you know, Ripple Effects is going to do so well
Yes.
because Christine is really running
I
that like
watch her on other interviews too, with other people interview her about the networking, how she got started, and she sold cars, or
a,
no, she was in the internet department or something,
in
but
the
she was
finance
also in the
department. Yeah,
automotive. Yeah.
yeah,
So there's a lot of similarity there.
for sure.
Um,
And
so where do you see yourself going? I mean, Star Tech is your future, then, sounds like.
yeah, I mean, anything can happen, right? You never know what the future holds, right? But in my mind, today, tomorrow, future, yeah, stored tech is that, right? Is, when I tell a company that I'm all in, when I accept that job offer, I'm all in,
Yeah.
and until they pull the plug on me. So yeah, it's I'm all in. I really really enjoy stored tech and the people there because of just the mission statement that they have for the people that they deal with. And I think I've ran into a lot of competitors that just don't have that. There's few that do a really really good job, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of them that don't.
Yeah.
And that's just great to see. So yeah, I definitely see myself continuing to do this. I like the challenge of building stored tech up in the Capital District because they are such a good company, and not as many people know about us down in the Capital District. So that's my
Yeah.
job, is to continue to increase the brand recognition and the awareness, and have conversations of how we can help. And
I might ask, do you have how many clients are you yourself at this point? You was, communicating with and, have relationships with.
yeah, currently about 130 that we have down here, and a lot of our accounts are based up north in the Queensbury market, north of Saratoga County.
Yeah.
But yeah, myself, I manage about 130 right
Okay.
now. So, and that's growing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So,
So you're busy every
um,
day on this.
yeah, and we have a team. I have someone that works with me directly to help me manage those, so I can continue to
Good.
develop the business down here. And then we have engineers that solution design that are really,
Hmm.
those are the technical guys. Those are
Right.
we're in the automotive space. Those are the mechanics, right?
Hmm.
To fix the problem or design the solutions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I got a ton of support, and it's great. So,
That's good. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure hearing your story. I mean, we spoke on the phone the other day. I'm like, we got to tell this, and I think people are going to get it humanizes it and makes it sound good. Plus, I just enjoy your conversation. So
thanks. Well, thanks for the outlet, Chris, and
sure.
you know. I love. I'm here to help whoever I can, and whatever I can, even on the networking piece, right? So,
How
you
can
know,
people get a hold of you directly?
yeah, the easiest way is to connect on LinkedIn, right? So, just click on my LinkedIn profile, press would like to connect, and I almost connect to anybody. So I will approve it. And then, if you want to learn more about me, or really get into the nuts and bolts of who Stored Tech is and how they can help your business,
Hmm.
or, you have individuals that you're connected on the business side. Hey, at the end of the day, the more resources you have, the more of a trusted advisor you are to your client, right? So
So,
just connect with me, have a one-on-one, we'll talk it out, and guess what? I can promise you this: I will help you before you can help me, because that's just my mentality. That's I have always connected everybody to anyone, and anybody who's been connected with me knows that, and I look forward to talking with you.
okay. Very good, Steve. We'll leave it at that, and we'll say live long and prosper.
Oh, I can do that. Look at that.
Hey,
Boom.
better
I'm a
than you.
Trekkie.
Yeah,
Trekkie. Yeah.
better than me, actually.
Oh, I can do both.
Oh, I can't. No, not too
Oh,
well. All
nice.
right. If we do this again, I'll put the bow tie on.
I'll put a bow tie on, then I'll train you. The Vulcan,
Yeah. Am I
or
right?
I'll train you on the Vulcan death grip too.
Oh, you know that?
No.
Oh, what did McCoy say? There's no such thing as a Vulcan death wish. Well, Romulans didn't know that. All right, Steve. Thanks. Have a good
All
day.
right. Take care.
Bye bye now.